Hi, do you ever find yourself on a climb with no idea what move to make next? Or do you jump on a climb and then decide what you're going to do with it? Welcome to Route Reading 101. Let's do this. Hi, welcome back. Today I wanted to talk to you about my take on route reading and what it is, how to use it. I should say before I start, I'm no expert, but I do come across quite a lot of people that don't do it at all. Some of them surprisingly experienced. Do you have a look at a climb? Do you read a climb before you get on it? Let me know in the comments what your experience of route reading is. So first off, what is route reading? Obviously I'm talking about bouldering, which is the only thing I do, but it's still called route reading. Someone gave me this way of looking at it, which worked really well. Imagine you're going for a walk or a trip. If you're planning to just wander about in the countryside, and it doesn't really matter where you go or if you get lost, then you don't need to plan. But if you have to go to a specific start point, if you have to follow a particular route to get to a particular destination, then it would be useful to plan your trip, plan your walk, and that's exactly what route reading is for. Now, if the walk is particularly simple, then all you need to know is where the start is and where the finish is. But the more complex it goes, the more twists and turns there are, the more problems you might come across, then the more complex your planning would need to become, and that's the same with route reading. So what I want to do for you today is I want to break route reading down into 3 levels. And depending on your experience, depending on what types of climbs you're working on, you can adopt whichever level you think will help. Why bother? Route reading for me has 2 purposes. Firstly, if you want to send a climb first time, what's called a flash, then reading the route dramatically increases the chances of doing that, the more complex the climb is. But secondly, for more complex climbs, reading the route and trying to climb that reading, then understanding what worked and didn't work and changing it and going back again, gives you a good insight into what works for you, what doesn't work for you, and it helps you learn how your body works on the wall. So for me, in addition to climbing and paying attention to what your body's doing, reading routes and trying to climb those readings really helps improve your climbing. Bear in mind I'm no expert, but hopefully some of this content will be helpful to some of you out there. And also, if this content is the kind of thing you like to see on my channel, then drop me a like, or if you're not subscribed, then consider subscribing. It really helps the channel, thank you. So let's go look at some climbs. Level 1 is the most simple. Find the start hold, find the end hold, and identify all the holds in between. You'll be surprised how often someone gets on a climb, they climb it, find it really difficult, and there's an obvious hold that they missed. Find the start hold, find the end hold, find the holds in between, and roughly what route does it follow. And you want to see if the path of the climb crosses over any other climbs, so that you don't start climbing while someone else is on a climb that's going to interfere with yours. In Hang On, the start holds are identified by these 2 tags. There's the number, which is the grade, and the Kryptonite tag. And if they're on 2 separate holds, then it's a 2-hold start. If they're on 1 hold, then it's both hands on this 1 hold. Then you're basically identifying all the holds in this climb, which in this case are just simple up, to the final one, which in Hang On is marked with a red dot. If you look at this blue climb, for example, it starts off down here, but traverses up left before going back right, which means this yellow, for example, and this pink both interfere with it. So it's entirely possible for you to start over here and someone to be starting over here, something you want to avoid. Level 2 takes the complexity up somewhat, and this time you're not only looking at the handholds, you're looking at how are you going to use them. So you're looking at things like, which hand am I going to put on which hold? Which hand are you going to finish with, for example. Also, some climbs, the handholds and the footholds are difficult to tell apart. And what I would say is the higher the grade, the more likely this is to be. So what you want to do, and it's difficult to see in a climbing centre like Hang On because the holds are so clean, so sometimes what you do is you follow the chalk. So look at which holds have chalk on them. Then basically all you're doing, once you've identified which handholds and how you're going to use them, you're working out the sequence of moves. Which hand am I going to move first, then which hand, then which hand. Also, are there any holds that require you to move with one hand and then the same hand again? I call these go again, other people call them bump ups. Probably the easiest way to identify a bump up is where you may have two holds that are the same angle, relatively close together. So on this blue climb here, we can see that it's a two-handed start here, but then you have three handholds, one on top of each other. And then what you have is these last three holds. So what level 2 is all about is about deciding not only where are the holds, but which hand are you going to put on them, how are you going to use these holds. One of the things I tend to do is look at the angle. So if you look at the angle of this one, it's implying that it's going to be your right hand that's pulling on it. This one is implying left hand. This one right hand. But this one right hand as well. Now, the fact that it's over the left means that makes very little sense. So, whilst I'll try to use the angle, I also have to look at the position. This one here is pretty much straight on to the final. So what I tend to do in a situation like this is I tend to work my way down from the top. If I can decide which hold is going to be moving to the top, I can decide where my other hands want to be. In this one, it's relatively clear the last move will be a right hand to this hold, meaning my left hand is going to have to be here or here. The way I read this is right hand here, left hand, right hand, then probably left hand up to here in a Gaston move, and then I'll put my right hand up there, adjust my feet, bring my right hand up to the top. So that's how I read the climb. Now let's see how I climb the climb. So two-handed start. And first right hand, then left hand, then right hand. Using my height, I'll step up, left hand, right hand for stability, right hand to finish. And that's pretty much exactly as I read it. This blue here, again, technically a simple climb. You can see starts with a double-handed, but then it has two holds in a diagonal sequence. So worthwhile noting, the shape of this hold means that you can have a hand here and a hand here, suggesting first move is left, then right, then left, then right. But if you look at the angle of the next hold, it's suggesting left hand, so you're going to be crossing hands on this one, then right, left, left. So relatively simple. See how that climbs. Left hand, right hand, left hand. A lot of foot swapping. Then right. Remember, this is where there's a cross and a swing up. This hip foot will help. Big enough for foot. Just as predicted. Level 3 takes the complexity up that one more step. Obviously in level 1 and level 2 we're only really looking at handholds, so we're only paying attention to what our hands are doing. And for beginner climbers or less complex climbs, that's often all you need to do. But once you start to advance, you begin to need to understand what you're doing with your feet. And some climbs, even intermediate climbs, you really need to be thinking of foot position in relation to managing the climb. So as in level 2, you need to identify the handholds and the footholds. You then need to look at things like, which foot am I going to put on which foothold? This will be down to you having enough understanding of climbing to know about things like body position and centre of mass and the difference those things make to your balance and therefore your ability to move on the wall. The other thing you need to understand about the footholds is, how am I going to be using them? Try and identify which part of the foot you want on the hold. Will you, for example, need to do a foot swap, in which case you might want to leave room on the hold? Do you need to be able to put your foot on in one way and pivot, in which case you need to be thinking about that? So rather than try and figure that out when you're on the wall, you want to be trying to identify moves like that as part of the reading, so that when you place your feet, you place them right in the first place. So let's see if we can find a climb that requires this. So this blue is an interesting one in that it's, on the face of it, relatively simple. If you look at the handholds, it's just simply right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left. But if you look at the footholds, I can tell from the start here that for me to move my right hand up to the first one, I'm probably going to want to be coming from my right foot rather than my left foot. And that comes from me understanding how my body moves on the wall. But then, with my right hand here and my left hand here, in order to let go of my left hand, I'm probably going to want to be on my left foot. So I will probably swap feet here, bringing my right foot onto the wall, bring my left foot up, and then step up to here with my right foot to move up with the next right hand. Let's see if it climbs that way. So again, I'm talking right hand here, left hand here, but right foot, because if my left foot was on, I know I'm unbalanced. So right foot on, left foot on wall, right hand. And then instead of stepping up here, I'll just swap to do this. Then allow just a tiny swing, which will then allow me to put left foot up and right. And I can just step up here instead of using my foot as this. And then because I'm going up here with my left hand, this needs to be left foot. And step through, finish on here. So that wasn't exactly as I read it. So what else can we think of? There are some things you can do to practice route reading. One of the things my daughter did when she was learning to climb was they would come up with the beta, decide how they were going to climb it, and then make themselves climb it that way. It's a very, very good way to test what you think should happen, rather than deciding what you're going to do and halfway through climbing it, change it. Another thing you could do is, if you try a climb using your beta and it doesn't work, if you fall or what you decided you were going to do isn't going to work, have a think about, what would I change, what would I do differently, and then try that differently. Another thing you could do is watch your favourite climbers. Watch videos on Instagram or YouTube, and when you see them approaching a climb, pause, have a look at the climb, decide what you think the beta is, how do you read the route, and then play and see if that's how they climb it. All of these things will help you get better and better at route reading, but most importantly, when you climb, try to always take the time to do some route reading before you go on the wall. And remember, level 1, simple climbs, not necessarily objectively not complex, but not complex for you. As long as you figure out the start and the end, off you go. Level 2, for more advanced ones, which are the handholds and what are you going to do with them? Which hands are you going to put where? Don't start a climb and then get cross-handed when you don't need to be. Work out where the bump ups are. And then lastly, for level 3, figure out what you're doing with your feet. A lot of climbing, more advanced climbs, is about body position, it's about flagging, it's about leaning, it's about being able to position your feet so that you can get the best out of your legs. And for more advanced climbs, then route reading will help you do that. So practice the route reading, create the route in your head, then climb the route. Let me know in the comments what your experience of route reading is, as I said, and if you find this content interesting, then drop me a like. If you're not subscribed, then remember to subscribe and ring that bell to be notified whenever I come up with a new video. Thanks for watching. See you soon.